Hello, my name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and I am a vegan confidence coach. I specialize in helping others confidently be themselves, and I help vegans who live with non vegans navigate the challenges of having a lifestyle different from the people around them. Here on my channel, The Confident Vegan, I share content on Tuesdays for Topic Tuesday, where I interview guests and share other personal development topics. On Fridays, I have Food Friday, where I share recipes and other food related content. Today, my special guest is Sristy Choudhury. Sristy lives in New Delhi and runs an ashram for yoga and wellness known as the Two Roads Studio. Her work focuses on promoting inner balance and universal compassion for all. As part of an awareness campaign, Sristy hosts a vegan luncheon every Sunday to allow non-vegans to try a wide range of cuisines that are cruelty-free and cooked with love. Her other prominent work in the last decade has been with a literary organization known as the Delhi Poetry Slam that she co-founded in 2013. It is one of the largest poetry communities in the world and has famously organized festivals, retreats, and poetry showcases across India. When Sristy is not working, she loves to cook, spend time with her 4 rescue dogs, and make documentaries about tribal life in the remote jungles of India. Welcome, Sristy.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be talking to you, Jennifer, because you're doing something in the similar field. And I think our conversation is going to be very inspiring for a lot of people because we're from 2 different parts of the world and we're both vegans and we have faced similar challenges and we're navigating through it. So I guess this conversation will be eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so as well. Thank you again for reaching out to me. I'm really excited that we connect. And, that's my mission. I want people to see that vegans are not just one type of person, and vegans show up in different cultures all over the world. And we all have different backgrounds, and we can find ways to make veganism work for us. And I really am excited to talk more and share your mission with the world.
Thank you.
So, so let's get started. The first question I ask my guests is, what is your vegan story?
That's a very good question. My vegan story dates back 2013 when I decided to turn from vegetarian to a vegan. So I was born in a meat-eating family. My family loved their fish, their chicken, their, all kinds of meat. But since I was a little girl, I had this inner voice in me that told me that I could not just eat meat for the sake of taste, while I knew that I was hurting animals. And thus, this compassionate side kept kind of sending signals to me throughout my life. And when I was in 6th grade, that's when I decided that I have to stop eating meat. And it was a hard news for my mom because she was just not expecting it. But she knew that I was compassionate. She knew that I loved animals. And I was also very strong-willed. If I made a decision, I would stick by it, even if I was very young. So, given all the circumstances around, my decision, my mom said, "ठीक है, you can try being a vegetarian. Let's see how long that lasts." And that lasted for a very long time until I decided that now it was time to go to the next step, which was becoming vegan because I didn't have the awareness that milk products were also cruel. That it came from a lot of sorrow and pain. So as soon as I became aware of it, which happened after I watched a movie, a documentary that was made by a wonderful filmmaker. So the name of the movie was The Ghost in Our Machines. I don't know if you've heard about it, but I saw it on the big screen and I was just so moved because it just made me feel like, I have to give up dairy right away. So that's how I turned vegan. And initial years were very difficult. They were not easy, but I was persistent. My thought was strong. My will was strong. So there was no looking back.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I can relate to where I grew up eating meat, and then it started out for me with health reasons because I noticed how dairy was making me feel in the beginning, and I started researching vegan recipes. Well, I was looking up dairy-free recipes, and I found a lot of vegan recipes, and then I started cooking more, exploring different vegan cuisines because there's so much exciting flavors and use of spices that I never thought of using. And then I started watching some documentaries, and that's when I started to realize, like, I knew where the meat came from, but then I really started to think about it. And then I was like, well, I can't be vegan because my family doesn't want to be vegan. And so that takes a lot of courage on your part, especially at such a young age, to be able to do something different from your
Yeah.
family, because that took me some time to do at a much older age. uh, and so that's what held me back for a bit. But there was something inside of me that really wanted to be vegan, and it was like my soul just couldn't take eating animal products anymore. And so I transitioned to being vegetarian, and after a bit, and then tried went to being vegan for few months, went back to vegetarian, and then I just couldn't take I had to I just completely embraced veganism. And you brought up a good point. It's hard in the beginning but when you're so committed to it, like, nothing is going to shake you when you realize that that's what's right for you. And it gets easier, especially now. There's so much out there to support vegans, and there's so much food, so many food options and recipes out there, that now it's even an easier time to be vegan than before. And I think the key is, not feeling deprived. People are afraid they're going to miss out on good food if they become vegan. There's a lot of stigma about what vegan food is. But as you and I both know, vegan food is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, I would like to add that, the difficulty you must have faced in America becoming a vegan must have been greater, because in India, we still have the concept of vegetarianism, and 39% people in this country are still vegetarians. So veganism is just a bit further, but at least the country is aware that you can live without meat. For as far as I know, in the US, when you tell somebody that you're a vegetarian, the first question they'll say, "Where do you get your protein?" This is the first question that a lot of people in America ask. But in India, we have yogis, we have people living in the Himalayas who have only and only eaten fruits and survived for 120 or 130 years. Like, they
Wow.
live more than normal people live. Like, nowadays, we are average life expectancy has become 80 years old or something like that. But in the Himalayas, where people are eating a complete vegetarian meal, a diet like that, they're still living a very, very long life. So this is an awareness that we have in our country, that we know that vegetarianism, veganism, these things, they exist, and they're not harmful for the body. But in the US, it's different, because you are primarily a meat based society. Am I right?
Yeah, it's getting better. I think in the past 10 years, especially in the past 5 years, I've been vegan since 2017. And I feel like there's been more and more that's evolved in the past almost 7 years that I've been vegan. So I think in the past 5 years especially,
Mhm.
it's getting more and more common to hear about, especially in bigger cities. I lived in Brooklyn for a while, in New York City, and New York City has a lot of vegan options, but there are places in the US where it's harder to find vegan options, like in smaller towns. And that's what the mission is with my work, is I want to create a supportive community for vegans to feel supported wherever they are on their journey, whether they're transitioning to being vegan, because it is a process. Any type of big change you're going to make in your life takes time, but any type of reduction of animal products, I feel like, is a big win right there. It takes time, and it takes time to change mindsets and old ways of thinking. And you're absolutely right. I went to a family function last year, and a family member was like, "Oh, you're vegan? What do you do for protein?" And I told him, and he was like, "Well, that's not real protein." So, and that was one of the things that held me back for a while, was the judgment, the fear of the judgment that people would have on me for not eating like them. But one of my favorite sayings is knowledge conquers fear. So the more
Mhm.
knowledge you have about something, then you're able to stand in your power more with it. And so for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser, so that was an area I still needed to work on, where I wasn't as much as a people pleaser where I used to be, but still that residual, like, oh my God, are people going to judge me? How is it going to impact my social circle? What are my friends going to say? But when you get connected to your why something's important to you, and you learn, you figure it out. But it's important to do things that are important to you, because if you live a lifestyle that is one that doesn't feel right to you just to impress other people, that's a big ingredient to unhappiness. So it's so important to be true to yourself. And 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 there's so many benefits to veganism, whether it's for health or for the animals, the environment, all of the above. What I have found speaking to a lot of vegans is one area, you know, attracts them, whether it's the environment, diet, or for animal welfare, and then it becomes all the reasons. So whatever gets you in, and then eventually you realize how important it is for all of those reasons.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me a little bit more about the work that you do and what inspired you to do it?
Hmm. So I run a yoga studio, as you mentioned in my introduction, and I have always been very attached to helping people find inner peace, inner balance, because the world is so chaotic, and we live in a society where money is the most valuable thing that everybody is chasing after, right? So our days are mostly decided based on our need to earn money. So the way we decide our days, what we're supposed to do today, and in that we sometimes leave space, like for we miss out the point where we have to develop our own inner self. So my point of work is to let people connect with their inner self, and connecting with inner self is also about connecting with nature, right? And how do you connect with nature? You connect with nature when you respect nature. And
Mm.
nature is everything that's living around us. The world is living around us, right? So we have to be very conscious of food we eat, because that's coming from nature. We have to be very compassionate towards animals. Like in India, we still have street dogs. I don't think you have that stray dog issue in the US anymore, but we still have street dogs, and so we have to live with them. So sometimes they are living terrible lives because they're getting run over by cars and buses. The modern world is not fit for them, so to see them in pain, what do you do when you see animals, who are suffering on the streets? They're cold, they're hungry. You have to build compassion for them, right? So veganism is obviously, veganism is a lot about food, right? We and the clothing that we choose, but veganism is also about how do we connect with our primal nature, our most primitive nature, which is without technology, without the things that we think are very important. It's really being connected with our environment, the birds, the animals. So the work that I'm doing is focusing on building that connection. And what I do at my studio for this sort of awareness is I host a Sunday vegan lunch. So it's turning into sort of like a lunch club where people want to come over and over to try out new recipes. And I keep this lunch open to anybody who wants to try. I don't have the judgment that, just because you eat meat, I don't think you are in a lower category or beneath me. There's nothing, like I don't have judgment for people who eat meat, because I feel like I was at some point eating meat, right? So I cannot judge them. It's just that we have to spread awareness, and we have to show them what the other option looks like. Because if they don't know, how will they aspire to become that, right? So we have to show them the option that exists beyond cruelty, so this lunch is cooked entirely by me, which is not easy.
I'm sure. How many people come to the lunch?
Maximum of 12. Yeah,
Okay.
but that's still a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do cook a lot of things. I try to keep the variety. Like I keep Indian food as well, and then I keep some Italian food as well. So last time at my vegan lunch, I had pesto pasta, as well as some Indian mock meat style food, which is called soya chap. It's like made of soy,
Hmm.
and it's exactly like meat. So I had Indian options as well. I had some Italian options. I had pumpkin soup. So I try out different recipes, and I had vegan cheesecake, peanut butter cheesecake, which people really loved. And a lot of people also told me that if you didn't tell me that this was all vegan, I would not have guessed. So that's a good feeling to when I get to hear some compliment like that they didn't know that this was vegan. So imagine, if the food tastes equally good, then you could probably include that in your life, right? So yeah, so that's what I do here. I invite people, I invite them to try out food, and I do it with a lot of love for the people that I'm cooking for. Because if I love animal, I have to love people as well. You have to love everybody. You cannot just love animals and not care about people. So you have to care about everybody around you. So that's the concept. That's how I spread the awareness and the message of veganism. And of course, in the way I live, I think when my family hears about what I do and what I eat, sometimes they're also inspired. I wouldn't say so. In my family, people did not really rescue dogs or adopt dogs, but one of my aunts, she recently adopted a street dog. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So you inspire by living. You don't have to always go to people and preach, because preachy type of behavior annoys a lot of people. Like, why are you preaching me? Like, do you think you are smarter than me? This kind of like mentality. So I think you should just live your life your authentic way, and through the life that you live, the actions that you take in your day to day, people should learn from that and get inspired. So no need for verbal inspiration, just live your life and inspire people by your activities.
That's beautiful. And I agree with you 100%. And I think that's a misconception that happens about vegans is people think vegans are angry and judgmental and trying to be pushy about their lifestyle. And yeah, that does turn people off, but again, they're all vegans come in different ways, and so there are those kinds of vegans, and if
I
that's the
have
kind of
been guilty of being that angry
yeah.
vegan.
I think we've all had those moments where yeah, we do feel that way. But it's
Yeah.
important, so there's no judgment in anyone who is, but it doesn't help. And I think like I agree with what you said, being the example is much better way to get people. You got to meet people where they're at in
Mhm.
order to inspire change. And so people like to have good food, and if that's the way you get them to at least see a different side to veganism that maybe they didn't have, and they see that they're part of a great community. It's great that you're hosting these luncheons and showing people that it can be a beautiful experience. It can be a good experience. You can eat food and not feel like you're missing out on anything. And yeah, being an example, my family is not vegan, and now all our kids are out of the house. But when I made my vegan food, and then we had non-vegan food. But now we don't have as much non-vegan food in the house anymore. It's very small amount of animal products that come into the house. And so I feel like, hey, that's a good thing. Like we contribute less to that. And I had to find that balance of what's going to work for me and my family. I'm going to do what's right for me, and they can do what's right for them. And my son now, actually, he went away to college and he actually started becoming vegan a few months ago. I mean, vegetarian. Sorry. He started being vegetarian a few months ago. He just didn't want to have meat and fish anymore. He just has dairy products and eggs. And that's something that just kind of shifted on his own with him after he moved out. And so it again, being the example, and he saw the food that I had as a vegan, and saw that he's not going to miss out on things. And so yeah, it's important to meet yourself where you're at, meet others where they're at, and by creating a fun, exciting, inclusive environment, that's a great way to have people check things out. And vegan cheesecake is a great place to start, because I've gone out, I've gone to vegan restaurants with non-vegan friends in New York City. And when we've ordered vegan cheesecake, they're like, this is vegan? And they actually like it better than real cheesecake, because real cheesecake is very heavy, and the vegan cheesecake is much lighter and better for the digestion. So, yeah, that vegan desserts, I think, in general are a great a great way to start. I think those really impress people a lot.
True, that's totally true.
And what do you find most enjoyable about being vegan?
Personally, I feel like the most enjoyable thing for me is how my body feels, because I live with my body 24/7. So that's the first thing I would say. I feel very light. I remember the time when I did consume dairy, and I always had a feeling of unrest in my body, and it doesn't just necessarily have to do with the gut, but you just start becoming a little bit more tired, and I don't know what effect milk products have on you, but it definitely does not make your body feel energetic. And I think giving up dairy products made my body just lighter, and I get a very good feeling now. I'm more active, I walk a lot, and you wouldn't believe, but I did lose a lot of weight after I turned vegan. And no, it's true that a lot of people do eat unhealthy food as well when they are vegan. Vegan doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be eating very healthy food, but veganism in itself promotes the idea of eating more fresh vegetables and fruits, and that in turn, if you incorporate those kind of foods in your life, you automatically start taking care of your health. So I don't know a lot of vegans that are obese. They might be a bit on the heavier side, but I don't know a lot of vegans that are obese, dangerously obese. But I do know a lot of meat eating folks who are like in a very bad health condition, right? So I would say personally, I felt good losing a lot of weight, and made me feel lighter. I got more active. So these were the best things about me turning vegan. And yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on the dairy. When I noticed how dairy was making me feel, and I did an experiment and I took a break from it for 30 days, I realized it was making me feel bad in ways I didn't realize it was making me feel until I stopped having it. And then when I went back to having it, I was like, ugh, I can't have this anymore. But it's true. It's interesting how I've spoken to other vegans who've said the same thing. Like, there's just something about giving up dairy that really makes a difference in how your body feels.
Yeah.
And so that I feel like is an easy place to start. Although I know a lot of people are like, I can't be vegan because I can't give up cheese. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of better vegan cheese options have improved over the years. And also your taste buds change. Like, I noticed after a couple of weeks of not having dairy, I got used to vegan cheese. And also if you're mixing it with like if you're putting it on a pizza and there's like tomato sauce and other stuff, it's gonna take on the flavors of those things. You're gonna think you're having cheese. So I think also, if you don't like to eat the cheese plain, it tastes weird to you in the beginning. Just mixing it up with on a pizza or a baked ziti or something, that's a good place to help you get used to having vegan cheese. And but then your taste buds change. And now that whenever I eat vegan cheese, um, to me it's just eating cheese. You get used to it, but you feel better. Also, for me, you can gain weight being vegan because if went through a stressful time last year and I was eating a lot of vegan cookies and stuff, so that'll definitely catch up with you. But I'm getting back on track with eating healthy and exercising again. But yeah, it's kind of like any type of diet, right? There's healthy and there's unhealthy. You can eat as unhealthy as you want,
Yeah.
and be vegan, or you can eat as healthy as you want and be vegan, just like in any other type of lifestyle. It's
True.
There's so much creativity out there. There's so many recipes out there. I think what I love again is the desserts is you can make healthier versions of desserts. I once made this chocolate pie that and then it was made with sweet potatoes and chocolate and like mostly healthy ingredients, and so it tasted like a really unhealthy dessert, but it was a lot better than chocolate dessert. So I really love the creativity
Yeah.
there is with using fruits and veggies and nuts and seeds, and um there's no way to feel deprived now with all the different recipes and options. And what do you find most challenging still as a vegan?
I do find it challenging to sit down on a dinner table where people are eating meat. I try not to judge, I try not to say something harsh to others, but it is the hardest thing for me, because I really feel emotionally for animals, and just seeing them being eaten, or just sitting with friends and watching them eat meat, it's still very hard for me. But yeah, I think that's the hardest. I don't think there is anything I feel like I'm missing out. And I really like the points that you made, that your taste buds change. It's not that you deprive your taste buds of certain food, it's just that you try on so many different things that you never tried before. You have opened a gate to something that was undiscovered. When we are eating only meat, or just dairy based food, we're very limited in the type of food we eat. And I think dairy or meat, it takes the center stage, becomes the showpiece of your dinner, and then everything else is just like add-ons around it, right? But when you become a vegan, you have other things that are becoming the most important ingredient, and there's so many other elements that you can add. So there were so many foods and fruits, vegetables that I didn't even know about before I turned vegan, and now I'm cooking with them, as you said, using sweet potatoes and making something with it. Like, I have also learned to use unconventional fruits and vegetables and make something so amazing out of it. I make these carrot puddings that are just so good. So I cook carrots in coconut milk and jaggery. And yeah, it's just the most delicious thing ever. So I would have never eaten that if I was not vegan. So trying out new things, you just enjoy food a lot more. You become very creative with it. You're always thinking about what's the next recipe I can create and cook. So it also kind of instills a creative nature in you. You become like a child, trying new things, painting. So yeah, I think it does do a lot of good things to you. The only terrible thing about being a vegan is seeing other people eat meat. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, that can be challenging. It's definitely, I'm finding it harder to be around it, but I find a way to I try to like shift my focus on the people I'm with and not so much what's on their plate. But yeah, it can be challenging. And yeah, I'm a much better cook now I'm vegan than before because I just made very standard dishes, like you said, the meat or fish was like the centerpiece, and you just had some things around it. And now, and I see things differently. Like I go into the produce section and I see, oh, I can make this and this and this and this with all these vegetables. And there's this misconception that being vegan is very expensive. And yeah, if you buy the processed foods, it can be, but I mean, a bag of beans, and you can do so much with a bag of beans. Like I've made my own veggie burgers and lentil loaf and lentil meatballs and like different things that you can take. One of the things I like to say to people is if there's a recipe you make with meat, like a meatloaf or burgers, replace that with replace that recipe with beans and just see how it comes out. You could take the same spices and, onions and whatever else, but just see how it comes out with trying beans, and it's much better for you too. And there's a lot of other additional nutrients that
Yeah.
you get when you eat beans and legumes. You're not just getting protein, but you're also
Mhm.
getting a lot of fiber and other types of nutrients in them.
Mhm.
And yeah, the creativity is definitely, I think, it's very eye-opening. Just what you become very resourceful and creative with
Yeah.
the food you make. And I think I primarily shop more in the where the fruits and vegetables are, and like beans and rice and quinoa, and yeah, I get some other little processed things here and there, but that's really all you need. Those are the building blocks that you need to make really, and good spices. You need a cabinet
Yeah.
filled with good spices and you can make anything amazing.
So true. That's so true. I just got this cookbook that I want to show you.
Oh,
It's the Indian Vegan, and this is so amazing because it's got such simple recipes that are just basically Indian cuisines done vegan way. So I really like to explore different cookbooks and just read and read because there's so much to learn when you become vegan. And a lot of people will say that they miss the meaty texture. Well, you get it in a lot of vegetables. We have this jackfruit here. I don't know if you have that in
yep.
the
We have
US.
jackfruit. Yep.
You do? Oh, great. So
Yep.
jackfruit, when it's not ripe, people in India, they use it to cook stews and different kinds of, dishes that resemble chicken dish or, a lamb dish. And you will eat it and you will be like, this is a lot better and this tastes amazing. So we are very blessed in the kind of food that we have available in India. A lot of things grow here, a lot of things. We never have to worry about vegetables and food because this is a tropical country. We have mangoes, we have all kinds of fruits, so we're never deprived. So that's where I feel a bit lucky. But when I was in Canada for a while, in Vancouver, I had difficulty, I had a lot of difficulty finding good vegetables and fruits to work with because it's very different in the West. It's just not the same. But I think you just get a hang of it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot more because of the climate, you can get a lot of food fresh. Where here, like especially like I'm in New York, and so it's cold here, so like a lot of right now, so a lot of the things that we get, everything's in the grocery store. Like I never even heard of jackfruit until about maybe 7 8 years ago, but like you can buy it here like in a can or like in packages, and occasionally now in the past few years sometimes you can find it actually fresh in the store. um but it's, yeah, one time I used to make brisket, with beef, and I took that same recipe like for the sauce and replaced it with jackfruit, and it was delicious. And so that's a way, that's a good way to, try vegan. Think of the things you already make that aren't vegan. If you're somebody watching who wants to try vegan food and wants to eliminate animal products, is think about the things you already make, that and what animal products are in those recipes, and what can you swap it out with. It could be a fun creative challenge for yourself to just say, "Oh, I wonder how this would taste if I swapped out these ingredients." And you might, you have an opportunity to make it much healthier for yourself, getting other nutrients. And you might be surprised that you're not going to see the difference and in it. So I know I one time recommended lentil meatballs to somebody, and they were really surprised at how good it came out. So
Wow.
yeah, it just, and if you put tomato sauce, or really, I think that's the key too. I think like really good flavorful sauce is going to really help. Like a lot of people say, oh, tofu's boring.
Hmm.
No, tofu's amazing because it's such a mild flavor. You can turn it into anything, and that's why it's amazing. You could turn it into dessert. You can turn it into a meaty looking dish. Like you could turn it into anything. And so once you know how to do it, once you learn those building blocks of creativity, it's unlimited the food that you can make.
Absolutely.
So this is really great. I'm enjoying our conversation. Before we wrap up, what are some success tips that you have for vegans or aspiring vegans?
Mhm. I think one of the tips that I would give is that learn how to cook. Because when you're a vegan and if you're dependent on others for your food, you will feel deprived. You know, you have to be dependent on yourself. You're the only one who can take care of your own diet. So learn how to cook. If you're not so good at it, it's a life skill. You know, cooking is not something that is something extra. It's something that you require in your life, you know, to live your life the way you want, because what we eat is what we are, right? So we must learn how to cook. Start learning. Start doing it slowly. You don't have to learn everything at once. Get help from other vegans. You know, if they have been vegans for a long time, they'll help you. They'll tell you, you know what, I make this, this is my recipe, try this out. I had a lady ask me, "How do you eat lentil? Because it's so hard to cook it." You know, so I it takes so long to boil it. She said that to me, and I told her, "Don't you have a pressure cooker?" And she was like, "No, I don't have a pressure cooker." So if you don't have the right things in your kitchen to cook vegan food, like vegan food requires a lot of blending. So buy a nice Vitamix, you know, buy have a nice blender so that you can create your own cashew cream that you can use, you know, on pizzas, or you know, if you're having some sort of if you want to make some sort of a dip, you can use cashew cream. Eat a lot of like peanuts. So start small. You don't have to go in all the way right in the very beginning. You do it slowly. Have lentil soup, have beans, have salads, you know, and you will learn. The process is not something that you can take it all at once. You just have to do it slowly, but be patient. You know, don't cry in the bathroom. Just be patient with yourself. You will go through it. You know, it's only the initial years that are hard, and once you realize what it's doing for your body, you will feel so good. You will feel so happy that you embrace the change, because it's doing something to not only your body, your aura, to your energy, to your spirit. So it goes way beyond your body. So believe in that, believe in the process, and yeah, do it now.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Starting small, you could start with snacks. You could start with one meal, you know, start with breakfast, try different breakfast foods, try, you know, start one meal at a time. Explore cookbooks. That's what I did. I explored recipes, find YouTubers. There's so many amazing YouTubers out there where you can watch all kinds of cooking shows on there for vegan food and just get inspired. If anything, watch some cooking videos and look at a cookbook. And I have so many vegan cookbooks. my my husband's like, "Do you really need another vegan cookbook?" Because I have so many of them. But I get excited, especially if it's something like different. Like the cookbook you just shared looked really great. Um, that, you know, I like to get cookbooks of different types of cuisines or different other, you know, just everything, desserts, everything, and I like them with pictures. It's exciting to like look through. Also, there's some magazines I like to get. There's one, Forks Over Knives. I don't know if you've heard of them, and they have a magazine that I get. And then there's Veg News, and then there's another Thrive magazine from the UK. They have a lot of amazing pictures and recipes. And, I think we eat with our eyes a lot. So when you see something that looks really good, that in itself can feel inspiring. So
That's true. And I know that you share a lot of recipes of your own. Maybe a cookbook from you is something we can expect in the coming year.
I I'd like to do that. That is something I'm thinking about doing in the future. Finding time and space. Right now I'm just working on creating recipes, which I'm finding fun and exciting. But yeah, that's something I would like to do at some point. So I'll let you know if I have one coming out.
I hope so.
Thank you. It sounds like you could do one as well with all the recipes that you make.
Yeah, I think so too. Just have to find the time for it.
So before we wrap up, what are some inspirational resources you would like to recommend to support others on their journey?
I would just say that go to YouTube. There is no specific kind of resource that I can recommend, and I won't recommend watching too many documentaries on it, because even though these documentaries are great, sometimes they can even cause PTSD. Because you see a lot of violence and you see exactly what happens in slaughterhouses. So I don't recommend that you go face to face with it. Just having the understanding of the violence that's happening in the world, just knowing that the meat that's sitting on in the supermarket is not just like coming from a factory, it's coming from a live being. Just having that awareness in everything you do, the kind of shoes you wear, the kind of clothing you wear, the kind of makeup you wear, just knowing where it's coming from. That's the most important part. Not being unaware, being mindful, in your day to day. Being mindful is just enough. You don't need resources from books or news or YouTube or magazine. You just need to be mindful. And once you're mindful, you will uh, create empathy for yourself and around you. And what you give to the world is something that comes back to you. So don't feel like just because I'm being kind to everybody, what's in store for me. Karma means the things that we do, they come back to you. Maybe you're nice to somebody and that person is not very nice to you, but somebody else will be nice to you. So karma doesn't work in the way that we think it does, but it does come back to you. So do good, be mindful, be aware. And yeah, your vegan journey will be great just if you're conscious.
I agree. And you're right. Energy, that's a big part of it for me too, was being aware of the energy of suffering that's in animal products and how that will stick with you for a bit. You feel it. Like I started becoming more aware of that as I was doing energy work with myself. And yeah, I've had this conversation with other vegans too, is when we change the way we eat and we become more mindful and intentional about
Mhm.
it, it shows up in our lives in other ways. It helps us be more mindful and intentional and compassionate in other ways in our life. And yeah, those are really good tips. And yeah, I think we're so busy looking outside of ourselves for making decisions and doing what's right for us. And it's about what's finding, looking inside within yourself and what is it that your body and soul needs. And then taking the steps that'll support you along the way in doing that. So that's really, really great. And what's the best way for others to connect with you?
You can connect with me on Instagram. I have an Instagram page called Art Life etc, that you
Okay.
can find me there. You can also reach out to me on my website, Two Roads Studio. So the studio is located in New Delhi. It's a central area. So if any American person or anybody watching comes to India, comes to New Delhi, please come visit my studio. I would love to have a conversation about veganism with you. It's all about spreading our knowledge, sharing it with the world. So I'd be lucky and happy to meet anybody who's maybe a viewer here. Yeah, that's the best way to connect with me.
Great. And can you send me the links for all of those and I'll put them in the notes below the video. So if anyone watching wants to connect with Sristy, you can find her links very easily. I'll put them in the notes below. Well, it was so great having this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and having, sharing your stories and your experience. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.